Redditors whose job requires them to go into other people's houses. What is the weirdest stuff you've seen? I went into a woman's house that had a life-size replica/mannequin of herself mutilated and murdered. Turns out she is a semi-pro actress. She's been an extra in a dozen or so motion pictures, one of which was a B-level hack film. The special effects crew made a latex replica of her for a couple scenes in the movie and let her keep it afterwards. It was very real looking. From a foot away, you'd think it was a real mutilated corpse. Creepy, but I can't blame her for wanting to keep it. You know, if this post ended after the first sentence, it would seem a lot more weird. Approximately 70-year-old woman fell in her trailer and injured her hip/femur, but was able to drag herself to the couch and climb onto it. Unfortunately, due to her injury, she was unable to walk. Plus, the trailer was a disgusting hoarder situation with clutter everywhere, so navigation was already difficult. She sat on the couch in the same spot for approximately 10 days until a neighbor called 911. When we arrived, she was naked and covered in 10 days worth of feces and urine, and was physically stuck to the couch. The worst parts were that the rats that also lived in her trailer had eaten 2 toes on the left foot, down to the bone, and approximately half of her right foot. She had such bad neuropathy that she said she could feel the pressure of them chewing, but no significant pain, and was unable to kick them off. On top of that, she had several sores on her inner upper thighs, along with a skin tear on her right forearm that had live maggots in them. We had to peel her off of the couch, which caused a large portion of skin to slough off, as it was dead and decaying after soaking in urine for a prolonged period of time. I've never smelled anything worse than when we broke that seal. The crazy part is that she had a phone near, but didn't want to call 911 because she didn't want to spend all day in the hospital. The neighbor that called had been coming over and giving her food and water, but didn't call us for 10 days, since she said she didn't want us to, and it didn't seem that bad at the time. I still have a hard time processing it all, but this is just one of many. Okay, that's one of the most disturbing stories I've ever read on this channel. I mean, I've personally gone pretty far when saying, like, I don't need to go to the hospital, like, I'll be fine. But I feel like if you're injured and your whole body is literally decaying off of you, I feel like the time spent in the hospital is not going to be wasted. I was at a house for a cable TV service call. Customer wasn't home, so I called him. He said, "I'll be home in 5 minutes, and don't freak out, but I have a tiger on the truck." When he got there, he had a tiger in a cage on the back of his truck. I got to pet the thing, feed it a little, and then went on to see his venomous snake collection, his hand grenade collection, and his hot sauce collection. The very next day, I was at another service call and asked the customer to get to the pole in the backyard, and he told me that he has a tiger in the backyard, so don't freak out. I got to pet the thing and feed it a little. I'd been working cable for 18 years to that point, and had never encountered a tiger in that time. I've been working cable 7 years since, and have had no further encounters with tigers in that time. But for 2 days consecutive, I visited homes with tigers. Well, I guess maybe if I ever have some service person come, I'll be like, watch out, I've got a mini tiger back there. And she might hide under the bed when you come. Just recently had a client who was fairly normal on the outside. Clean cut, steady factory job, decent car, etc. Inside his house, the roof was rotted through. There were holes in the floor, dead rodents in the kitchen cupboards, etc. The weirdest thing was that he kept talking about his wife, but it was abundantly clear that no one lives there with him. This guy had a completely normal life on the outside, but is definitely off. You know, maybe he just has a curse on the house, and like when he's in there, he's just completely out of it and he has no idea what's going on. But as soon as he steps outside, he completely forgets about his home and just goes about his life. A woman who built an aluminum foil tent over her bed so they couldn't control her dreams or thoughts while she slept. I found out later that she'd been a member of the Branch Davidians. So is this why I get so many bizarre dreams? Because I don't have an aluminum foil tent over my bed? Maybe I should get on that. When I worked as a building inspector, we saw a house that had not paid their water bills and had their service disconnected. So naturally their solution was to get a bunch of big blue storage bins from Walmart, cut a hole in one end of the lid, and crap in those. They had 5 lined up in the living room. There was also 4 dead dogs in a closet. I puked for the rest of the day. We condemned the house. See, I'm trying to think like, yeah, what did people use for toilets before indoor plumbing? And I'm like, oh yeah, they had outhouses, they would poop outside. If you don't have plumbing, don't go to the bathroom inside. I don't really understand why people would need to make homemade toilets that they keep inside like that. I'm an electrician, and I did a call where the family had a full-size, 7 to 8 foot long pig living in their house, just chilling in a room right off the living room. Another call where the older couple had very anatomically correct drawings of themselves on all of the walls. That was awkward. Well, I suppose it's not too unusual for people to own pigs, so having one as a pet doesn't seem that weird, I guess. When I worked as a housekeeper, there was this one Airbnb we would clean, and in the office there was a giant bookshelf full of books. But upon further inspection, we realized that they were literally all books about Hitler and Nazis. Also, not a house, but the mechanics of a car dealership we cleaned would routinely crap on the bathroom floor instead of the toilet. I mean, I feel bad for some cleaners. They're usually the ones that get left with the most disgusting of jobs. Working as a locksmith, get called to rekey a house. Talk to client before I show up. She seems like a completely normal lady. I show up and we talk for a moment outside. Completely normal house from all looks. She's an RN, 0 warning signs. She goes to open the door and let me in and starts acting sheepish. She starts apologizing and says something like, "Excuse the mess." The door can't open all the way. There's 3 to 4 feet of trash everywhere. Not hoarding boxes or collecting weird stuff, but just garbage, rotting stuff, piss, crap, piles of it. There's a 9-inch wide walkway through the garbage that's 6-inch deep of compressed garbage, to-go boxes, fast food bags, magazines, you name it. She goes in, walks through to the living room and sits down on a couch that can't be seen, garbage everywhere. A cat appears out of nowhere and sits on her lap lovingly. She seems, for all practical purposes, like a completely normal functioning adult. I looked it up and it's some weird form of hoarding condition, but just rotting waste. She seemed so normal. I did the job and left. Felt bad for her. Still kind of freaks me out, like there's no way you're guessing this nice nurse lady is actually a garbage troll. Yeah, I guess some people just really have a problem with cleaning up anything and throwing away anything. I'm a nanny, and I went to a new job one morning, and the little girl showed me what she got for her birthday, and it was a windshield cover for a car. Hey, I mean, sometimes kids can be entertained by anything. Where to start? During my plumbing apprenticeship, I worked in North London for the local authority. Our job was to go into houses and update their boilers to new, high-efficiency boilers. One home was a top-floor flat, and we were told in advance that the guy who lived there went by the name of Birdman. He was called this because he left his windows open year-round, allowing all pigeons to roost in his place. On approach via the stairway, you could smell the ammonia from the bird crap. By the time we got to the door, we were gagging and called the job off. The local council had to call in deep cleaners in hazmat suits to clean the place before any work would go ahead. Another place a guy lived, who I'm pretty sure had some mental health issues. When we got in, he had broken computer parts covering every square inch of the floor. He said that he wanted us to remove our boots to work there, but we flat out refused on health and safety grounds. Whilst we were there, he spent most of his time on the phone calling local zoos, asking what they did with their spare porcupines. He was calling because he wanted to eat them. When they refused, he accused them of being racist, as he claimed to be from Africa and it was a delicacy for him. He was a white guy with a North London accent. Not saying he couldn't have been born in Africa and emigrated, but it sounded made up. Last was a very friendly family, but their place was a mess. When we got in, they offered us tea, which we politely declined. When we got into the kitchen, there was dirty cups and plates stacked head high and decomposing fish on the floor. It was gross. The worst part was having to get in the bedrooms. One room, which was barely big enough for one adult, had 3 adult men staying in it. It smelled of old mildew and sweat. When one of the guys got up and out of the bed to give us the room, his toenails were so long that they made tapping noises on the laminate floor, kind of like the velociraptors in Jurassic Park. I'm not sharing this to make fun of any of these people. They were clearly living close to or on the poverty line. If anything, I think these type of people need more help from society. Better mental health resources, more living space, and just general wellness checks could all help these people. So I guess he's now encountered the Birdman, the Porcupine Man, and the Velociraptor Man. I had no idea London was such a cultured place. Not weird, but really, really sad. Had to go check on an apartment because we'd had a tip that there could be moisture damage. The apartment belonged to a retired old man, and apparently when he had a nurse visit him at home, they had made the report to building maintenance. When we got to the bathroom, me and my other partner saw something that haunts me to this day. The ceiling was black. The walls were black. Everything was covered in a solid black wall of mold. The man living there had no sense of what it was or what it meant. The mold had to have been growing for quite a while, and I have no idea how long he had lived there breathing it in, without no one even coming to visit and see and report it. I have no idea what happened to the apartment or the resident, but I'm sure the bathroom had to be fully made anew, and I'm hoping the man is living somewhere safer. Yeah, I feel like it'd be kind of hard to go very long without noticing a bad smell taking over your whole house. When I worked in pest control, I went to a house that called us for roach problems. As soon as I entered the home, I knew it was going to be bad. The smell nearly knocked me down. I had to make an excuse to go back to the truck right away, just to take a breath. I returned with my mask on. Inside the house was the mother and 3 small children. The smell was something that I really hadn't smelled before, and in this business, you smell a lot. The house was dirty, but not in a hoarding way at first glance. Just basically a typical house that was obviously run by the kids and lazy parents. The kitchen was dirty, looked like about a week of dishes piled up and scraps of food on the counters, but still nothing explained the smell. As I started up to the attic, the little girl ran by my ladder, started to pull down her pants as she ran to her room. I looked away, but she left the door open. As I climbed into the attic, I noticed that she was squatting and taking a crap in the middle of her room. After she left, I looked in her room and saw piles of human feces all around her room, dried up. I checked the other kids' bedrooms and found the same thing. The mom didn't even bother to clean up, knowing that she had an appointment with me. I made some excuse to schedule another follow-up later. I left. Before I even left the driveway, I called Child Protective Service. You know what's so funny to me is that there's people that live in a house like this, and their only concern is, oh man, we have roaches? We better call in pest control because that's really the main problem in this house right now. When my dad bought his first duplex, I was involuntarily employed to help him restore the property to a livable state. We filled up 2 20-yard dumpsters, which were filled past the brim, and still had to put garbage in their cans out for a few weeks. The previous tenants of both units wouldn't take their garbage to the street. Instead, they would lob the garbage bags, not everything was bagged, into the garage, behind the house, and in the side yards. On the plus side, I found my first porn magazine collection there in pretty good condition, as well as a crossbow. Hey, to be honest, anytime somebody's doing like some sort of house cleaning or just like giving away everything out of a house, I love going to things like that just to look through people's old stuff, trying to collect old junk that nobody wants anymore. In fact, I got a bunch of dishes today doing almost exactly that. But that's so weird that you would put everything in garbage bags and just throw it behind the house rather than in your garbage can. Like, is that laziness or is that just not wanting to get rid of anything? Former EMT here checking in. I'm gonna have to go with the man who collected/hoarded LED lights and toys. Might not sound all that interesting, but imagine walking into a house full of boxes and boxes of LED light pens, light up fidget balls, light up cat toys, you dig? I'm talking an Edison wet dream. He also slept on an inversion table. Didn't have a fridge, no TV, no radios, thousands of books and magazines, and a hot plate with rows and rows of canned food. I miss him sometimes. I guess it could be kind of interesting to just have like thousands of little light up things in a dark room and just see how that would look. Maybe I'll have to try something like that someday. I delivered pizza at a drug dealer's place. The building was locked down with kids monitoring the entrance. They told which floor to go and which floor to knock on, then followed upstairs. The guy that answered the door looked basically Mickey Rourke in Iron Man 2. Another guy was playing FIFA with a gun casually left on the couch next to him. Mickey paid me. The kids escorted me downstairs and gave me a bag of weed as a tip. Man, the funny thing about pizza guys is that you can get called in to people of pretty much any income bracket. And even drug houses get hungry for some pizza sometimes too. My husband's experience relayed to me. He was renting a small 2-bedroom apartment with his now ex-wife. Her sister came to stay with them for a while, trying to get on her feet and get into school or work. After a heavy storm, the landlord came to check on the apartment and went into the basement. It was completely flooded with several feet of water. He said there was no way the storm did that, and found out there was a burst pipe as well coming from the bathroom. Turns out the sister was flushing those wet wipes down the toilet and it finally overloaded it. They found her closet full of wet wipes, used, hundreds. She never showered apparently, just wiped down with wipes, piled them in the closet, or tried to flush them. Well, that's all of the disgusting stories we have for today. These stories might make you want to go, I don't know, clean your house right now, go vacuum, go clean your bathroom. And always remember, don't poop on your bedroom floor.